Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I have a little bit of a different setup. I wanted to give you a nice close-up of these two bags in natural light. Actually, it's really sunny today, which is nice, but it's almost too sunny, so I'm purposely sitting in the shade so that it doesn't get too washed out. But I've got my two classic flaps here, both in the medium size. This one is a vintage black lambskin with silver hardware, and this one here is beige Claire, also medium size, caviar with the gold hardware. And this is not vintage. This is from just a couple years ago. So in this video, I thought I would answer two really frequently asked questions of me. So the first question that I receive over and over again from many of you is, if I were to choose only one Chanel classic flap, would I go for the caviar or would I go for the lambskin? And we all know that the caviar is generally more casual, more durable, more scratch resistant, and the lambskin is a little bit more delicate, but also very luxurious and soft and nice to the touch. And there are pros and cons to both, but I think my answer has always been the same from day one. For practicality reasons, it may be the caviar, but my heart is with the lambskin. So if I could only choose one at this point, it would definitely be lambskin. You guys know that I have the minis in the lambskin. I also have the jumbo and the caviar, but lambskin is really where it's at in terms of feeling the most luxurious. Now, if you don't know a little bit of history, back in the day, years ago, Chanel actually priced their lambskin classic flaps a little bit higher, so they're always a little bit more expensive than their caviar. And I don't know if it's because lambskin is more expensive than calfskin turned into caviar, or if because they felt that lambskin was more popular back in the day. I know that's changed since then, but lambskin was always priced a little bit more than caviar until a few years ago. In the modern era, they kind of equalized the pricing, and now you find them at the same exact price. But I understand it because I think this is much more polished and much more luxury vibe than the caviar. I've also been studying up on just leather and leather quality and experimenting with different brands, as you guys know, lesser known brands, up and coming brands, but beautiful leather quality. And I've noticed that, first of all, you don't have to pay a ton of money to get nice quality. That's the first thing. And second of all, treated leathers like this, where it's like covered with grains and this caviar, as they call it, it kind of disguises the actual leather quality, and it also doesn't always feel like leather. I mean, it's obviously leather, but sometimes Chanel caviar, especially nowadays because of the quality decline, can feel a little bit plasticky, whereas the lambskin just feels buttery soft and tends to get more soft over time from the natural oils of your hands and with use and the patina. So I just wanted to say, with that additional information as well, I'm definitely leaning heavily more towards lambskin. So that is my answer. If I had to choose between caviar and lambskin, this would be the winner. Now, the other question is, if I were to purchase a classic flap now for the first time, would I go pre-loved or would I go brand new from the boutique? And I feel like I can honestly answer this question now because I've owned these bags for a little while, and so the buyer's high on each of the bags have worn off, meaning I'm not biased, like this one's newer, so I'm gonna pick this one. Actually, and I apologize for the sirens if you hear them, it's a noisy day, but I've had this bag, which is a vintage, about 22 years old. I've had it for maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. I purchased it pre-loved on the secondhand market from Fashion File in excellent condition, or it might have been listed as very good condition. I don't remember, but I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'll give you close-ups in a minute. And then this one I purchased maybe about a year or 2 years ago from the boutique, brand new. And if I were to do it all over again, for sure, I would go pre-loved, 100%. And the reason why is because I have really gotten the hang of the hunt. I've really started to enjoy the satisfaction behind hunting and scouring the web and looking at different sources and finding the exact pre-loved bag in the condition that I want at the price that I want. Whereas when you buy something from the boutique, it's limited. You have to buy what's there. A lot of times they don't have what you want, and sometimes you feel the pressure to just take whatever's there, and that could always lead to regrets, right? So I feel like if you're into options and you're open to research and you have time on your hands and you're not in a rush, I mean, what is the rush after all? These are just bags, right? If you're not in a rush and you want to take your time, I still think the pre-loved market has deals. They may not be as easy to find nowadays because the pre-loved market has really sort of like heated up in the last few years as well. It's not as taboo now to buy something pre-loved, and the pre-loved market sometimes will surpass the retail prices, and in those cases I would say stay away. I feel like if you just keep looking, you can find better deals. So the hunt is one thing, but also the quality. So when it comes to Chanel classic flaps in particular, I think most of us are very aware at this point that there has been a pretty significant quality decline in just craftsmanship. And I don't know if there's one or many causes for this. I don't know if it's the cost of material goods rising and therefore they're cutting corners. I don't know if the really trained sort of veteran artisans behind the craft are now retired or retiring, and so they're having to train new people. I don't know if it's a combination of those two things and many other factors, but the reality is, with our eyes, we can tell that the quality has declined. I mean, me myself, I have purchased 2 classic flaps from the boutique before these, and they both had to go back because they both had noticeable defects, and there was no question about it. I wasn't going to keep them. So unfortunately, when you are purchasing a classic flap, you really have to have a bit of an eagle eye to make sure that it's going to be made well, right? And there is a little bit of peace of mind when you purchase the Preloved bags because you know that it's been used for years, maybe even decades in this case, and look how it's holding up, right? So I mean, this bag is over 20 years old, and yes, it's worn, it's definitely aged, but it's aged beautifully. And in terms of like structure and symmetry and stitching and all of that, it's just beautiful. So there's a little bit of just reassurance knowing that it lasted that long, that it was used and enjoyed by somebody before you, or many people before you perhaps, and it's still looking good and standing up to what, you know, your expectations are. Whereas new one, you don't know. It's kind of like buying a brand new house. You don't know if the foundation's good. You don't know if there are going to be issues down the road, right? So I kind of think of it like that. And I feel like if you're looking at quality and then price and you're putting those two together, if you want the best value for a Chanel classic flap, it would be on the Preloved market. And again, it takes time, it takes a bit of a hunt, it takes some research, and it takes some patience. But if you're willing to do all of that and you have the capacity to do that, then I would recommend the Preloved market. So when I think about this bag here, of course, I enjoy it and I'm glad I have it, but I feel a little bit, in a sort of weird way, I feel a little bit ripped off because the 2 classic flaps that I purchased before that had defects and had to go back, they were like $56 or $5,800 at the time, and then there were multiple price increases when I got this. So I kind of felt like I had to pay more because Chanel didn't get it right the first 2 times. And not that I had to, of course it's my choice. I hate when a customer sounds like a victim, so that's what I'm not trying to sound like I was forced to buy this. Clearly it was my decision to buy it and fork over my money, and I'm at peace with that. But I do feel a little bit like, wow, I paid so much more for this compared to this. And if I were to be completely frank with you, if I was told I could only keep one going forward, I would let go of this one and I would keep this. I feel like this is just so beautiful. It just, I don't know, something like when you touch it and feel it and wear it, it has a feeling to it that this one doesn't give me. Not to say this isn't beautiful as well, but if I were to have to choose just one, it would be this one. So it would be the vintage one, it would be the Preloved one, it would be the one that I paid a lot less for, and it would be the one that looks more beautiful in my eyes. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but I've noticed that over the years, I continue to receive these 2 same questions: Lambskin or Caviar? Check Lambskin. And Preloved or new? Preloved, yes, for a variety of different reasons, as I cited. So hopefully this is helpful. If you enjoyed this video and this sort of close-up, let me give you real close-up. Zoom in. Caviar. That's the other thing. It's a personal preference. If you really love the Caviar, then you go for the Caviar. If you really love the Lambskin, you go for the Lambskin. And I will say, some people say they love the Lambskin more, but they're afraid to wear Lambskin. And I have always said that Lambskin is not nearly as delicate as people say it is. I'm not that careful with this bag, and it looks pretty good to me. I have not dinged it up at all really since I've owned it. And then other people say that lambskin quilts flatten over time, and that may be true, but Caviar does too. It's just you don't see a lot of Caviar flattened quilts from the vintage era on the Preloved market, because back in the day lambskin was much more popular, so you'll find a lot more lambskin on the market, but they'll all deflate over time. They'll all get flattened with use, and especially if you don't store them properly and you squish them, they're all going to get messed up and deflated. So I think you just have to find the right one and the quality that you want, and don't worry too much about what could happen in the future, because these are bags that you can enjoy now, right? These are material goods that are meant to just be used and enjoyed for the time being. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.